racism is a problem in white communities, and white people need to be able to work together in their own communities with other white people to address racism, so that we don't put that burden on people of color to do that education or do that confrontation or have those conversations, and that we take on that responsibility to educate ourselves. We take on that responsibility to show up and take anti-racist action. So all the white folks out there that are like curious and questioning, wondering like, what can I do in this moment to show up? That's great. That's why we're here. That's why White People for Black Lives exists. That's why Aware LA exists. We welcome you where you're at. We're not going to be asking you about your activist resume. You don't need to have been, in the fight for 10, 20 years. You don't have to prove to us how down you are in order to come into our space. We welcome you where you're at, and we want to support all white folks to be able to build a massive base of millions of white people across the country who are dedicated to ending this white supremacist system. We meet monthly. If you want to get on our email list, or if you want to follow us on social media, you can find information at the end of this video. For us, really, we just take our cues from our solidarity partners, and mainly the Los Angeles chapter of Black Lives Matter, but we also work with a number of other impacted communities and POC-led organizations in Los Angeles. And so very specific asks that are happening now locally in Los Angeles is the Los Angeles chapter of Black Lives Matter is actively engaged in a campaign against the district attorney, Jackie Lacey. So she's been in office for 5 years now, and in just that time, we have more than 400 documented cases. So we actually have names of more than 400 people who have been killed by the Los Angeles Police Department or by the sheriffs, whether it's in the street or whether it's in jails. And there have been 0 convictions. And it's really, really, really hard to believe that all 400 of those cases were justified. The police and sheriffs have their narrative that they tried to promote the justification for their murder, but the families have a different narrative. The community has a different narrative. We have a different narrative. We see these people as humans, and there's been no justice. And so we are there at the DA's office every Wednesday from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. to demand justice from her, which means that either she needs to begin prosecuting law enforcement who kills, or she needs to step down. And so that's one of the major campaigns that we're in support of right now. Another is demanding accountability from the Los Angeles Police Commission. So there is an alleged civilian oversight body of the Los Angeles Police Department. And they just function as a rubber stamp to whatever it is that the police chief says, which means that every time there is a murder by law enforcement, by LAPD, they always vote it in policy. And if it's in policy, that means that there is 0 accountability, there's no investigations, nothing. LAPD and the sheriffs have killed children. There's been more than 20 cases of children who are under the age of 18 who have been killed by law enforcement, and there have been no investigations into those murders, and there has been no accountability for those officers. There have been some officers who have killed multiple people in their career, and there's no investigation happening. There was one law enforcement officer who killed 2 people in a span of just a couple weeks, and he's still on the job. So this is an egregious violation of human rights, and there is nothing that is happening to hold these people accountable, and all of that power rests in DA Lacey's hands, and it also rests in the hands of the Los Angeles Police Commission, and neither of them are doing what they're supposed to be doing. They're being paid by us, by taxpayers, and all they're doing is protecting law enforcement who kill. So one thing that I think about around taking action is that we all have a role to play. And so a lot of people think about protest being like, I have to chain myself to a front door and get arrested, and that's the only way that protest can happen. And I think that just simply isn't true. I think that there are so many ways that we can show up, and it's about figuring out what is the way that I can show up, and get involved and look for organizations that speak to you, that are doing the good work, and that you feel like you can contribute to, because everybody has a skill, whether it's writing, whether it's photography, whether it is going to a street-based protest, whether it's organizational development. There are so many ways to be able to help us sustain movement in the long term that there's no reason that everybody can't be involved who wants to choose to get involved.